Hello and welcome everybody to our potentially last part of this budget series. This time around, as you can probably tell by the quest we managed to grab this time around, we are going to build an Elysian budget deck consisting of Primal and Time. And I thought of something interesting. And yet again, just to make it easy, I tried to focus on what both factions do well or are best in. And I came up with this amalgamation of interesting choices we have to take during the game. Interesting options like the twinning ritual that allows us to potentially grab more units that we value at this stage of the game. While it's slow, it's also interesting, and since we run Dusk Raider and Living Example with basically the Inspire package, we can guarantee to get some pretty big units super early on. And this is kind of the theme I went for this time around. You can see Dusk Raider, Living Example, and Temple Scribe making the core of the early game that we will drop. Card draw for the Temple Scribe is especially interesting since we do run those two units here. Other than that, I think Temple Scribe is still a mainstay in most time decks just to get card draw going. And why not use it as a budget option here? False Prince is a very strong card, but is also countered easily by things like Torch, Permafrost. Everything that targets False Prince directly transform him into a 1/1 frog, as the card suggests, but it still needs an answer, otherwise we have an extremely potent threat on the board in the free drop area. Teriax Hatchlings. I'm not sure if we're okay with 4, because that could make our hand extremely clunky. But as mentioned earlier, I want to try to give you guys a decent understanding of how or what the flavor of those factions are. And Echo is a very interesting flavor option that we have in Time and Primal, and might as well use them. Maybe we will decide to cut down on the 4 and maybe make it 3 or 2, because that could suffice usually. Next choice was Thunderbird, just a decent unit overall with some protection with Aegis. Definitely a decent pickup when you're on a budget. Nesting Aviasaur is interesting because it allows us to put a card with Echo like the Pteryx Hatchling or the Twin Brute Sauropod back on our deck, make it cheaper while providing maybe even more inspired triggers, depending on if we get them out early on or not. Definitely a decent idea if you want to go for an Echo theme, and it's a mainstay in a deck like Clockroaches, which basically this tries to be in some way or another. But obviously, since Clockroaches are rare cards, we don't run them in our budget list. But we can try to use the same principles by putting strong units back on our deck and using echo cards like Yeti Troublemaker, the Hatchling, or the Twin Brute Sauropod. Jotun Hurler is a very sought after card in draft, and usually when a card is decent in draft and you don't have every option, that card is usually also good in a budget deck or in a deck where you try to do something that doesn't have all the options just yet. Lumen Defender was mainly picked to give us some health gain and to have something that we can rely on defending us. We could potentially up the number of those, but for now I think we are okay this way around. And as shown earlier, the Twin Brute Sauropod is our finisher, as our big unit that we will drop. Hopefully we'll be able to get some twinning rituals going with those guys, or get some buffs like a Berserk or some +1/+1 action going. To quickly talk about the spells, Backlash has been chosen instead of Unseal for that one reason that it provides extra damage. And I think I had quite some games while playtesting where the 2 damage mattered in the end. But as mentioned, you can definitely go with Unseal if you prefer Unseal. It also targets curses or permafrost, for example. Those could be interchanged depending on how you like it. Twinning Ritual, draws us another copy. In case of an echo unit, we get 3 copies from it. So we get the one that we copied, and we get the 2 extra draws from it. Seed Initiation is our pretty much only removal spell we run in this deck. And we also need a unit on board to actually use it efficiently. But we have quite some units, as you can tell. Our unit count is 37 right now, and that's pretty big. Wisdom of the Elders just for more redraw, maybe for more triggers on the Inspire units, get some more Echo units going, all that good stuff. This time around, I thought we will run a power base of 26, just so we can hopefully get to our big units rather early on. And we also run Diplomatic Seal, just to be able to influence if we can actually get False Prince down or not. For 3 mana, having 2 time and 1 primal seems easy to meet, but I think right now we are okay with trying to go as hard as we can to try to hit those influence requirements, because all the other units, as you can tell, don't really require much influence at all. Also for the Temple Scribe, obviously. That's good to mention here. Wisdom of the Elders also needs 2. But other than that, I think this is pretty standard as far as it goes. And I think we shall jump into some games now, and I catch you on the other side. Looks like we found our first match here. And this hand looks interesting, but not good enough to consider keeping, so we will redraw this. We would need some kind of mix of both time and primal sigils, or a diplomatic seal as well. And I think this time around we will actually go for primal first, and then go for time, get our living example down as soon as we possibly can. We also got the influence requirements for the Wisdom of the Elders. It looks like our opponent doesn't fancy Wisdom of the Elders with living example on the field. That's a shame. But I think we should actually play a Terrix Hatchling here, so we can match the 2-1. Probably seeing some weapon. That is indeed a weapon. I think we should get out the Thunderbird right now. And get some more units out there, and then we start redrawing while keeping or putting down their aggression for now. They will probably have something like a longsword, yeah, or a finest hour. If they have a finest hour right now, we will be most likely dead. I think we take the 6, do we? Finest hour and torch could hurt us. If they had finest hour though, I think they would have attacked last turn. And it looks like we were right with this assumption. We got rid of quite some big guy already, which is pretty good. And I think we take this turn to use Wisdom of the Elders and redraw. Maybe we can find a power. Looks like we don't. And I wonder if we should use that snowball just there. It looks like this deck seems to rely on weapon synergy and putting out weapons on units. So right now we can deal with it, so might as well do that. Minotaur Grunt. Okay, it looks like also like a budget deck in some sort, or some sorts. I think I would rather play both right now. Maybe we can see another torch while redrawing. And I think it would have actually been fine to play the Temple Scribe first and consider what we draw before we can actually go down with the 5/5. Maybe there would have been another option we could have taken here. Also, make sure that you know that False Prince can also be transformed by using a Finest Hour, just as you can use Finest Hour to blow up an Aegis from an enemy. Looks like they're content with building their board right now, but I don't think that we are. Let's show that we are ready to attack. Maybe we can get a decent trade. Yeah, looks like they want to go for this. Interesting. And right now our hand is pretty stacked already, so let's play our biggest threat out there. We can't sadly combine the Pteryx hatchling with another free drop or both of them. And this is what I was talking about in the initial deck discussion. If you draw a lot of your flyers or echo units early on, your hand can get clunky and then it could punish you redrawing cards. Because right now I don't necessarily want to play all of these out there. I would rather get some more power going or things like that. Interesting. They try to get more value by killing the 1/1. I'm not sure if that's the right call though, because they could have also killed the 2/1. Maybe they got a torch in the back, but I'm not quite sure about that. I understand trying to play for value, but I don't think Genshu is in a position to play for value right now. They could potentially have something like a harsh rule if they're unsure about how to actually build their deck. But I could see something like this, or maybe just a Vanquish. We do see 4th Tree Elder. Nice. I like 4th Tree Elder. As you can hopefully remember. And I think we should be okay with just spewing out as much as we can while staying aggressive. I mean, they will get the trait they prefer, which would be the 5/4. But on the other hand, we get another 6 damage in. Next turn, they will most likely want to trade the 5/5 or a 4/4, depending on what they can do. And even though it looks like we're doing a doofy there, that's another damage in their face. And this weapon put on the hurt on us, but it doesn't really matter that much since we have quite some health left to play with and use as a resource in this case. And I think we put out more flyers right now. It doesn't even actually matter. We just attack here like this. And we actually have the win already. So even though it might look like a bad idea to sometimes attack in because they can get efficient trades, sometimes having more units on boards is better than having sick quality of every single card you play. So right now we just spewed every single thing on the board and it just worked out perfectly. This is also our first win of the day. That's nice. Definitely glad to pick up some packs again. And I think we should go for game number 2 and I catch you over there. Something I feel like mentioning right now is the fact that a deck like Elysian or everything that has a time component as their faction is pretty easy to upgrade or to actually make it stronger. Just because time and Primal has decent options, especially also in the 2-faction and the multi-faction options. In regards to Cerso, Sandstorm Titan, World Bearer Behemoth, I think at this point you kind of understand how I'm building the decks that I'm showcasing. And as you can probably tell as well, we use a lot of the units for different decks. Best example would be the Crownwatch Paladin that we used in every single deck that we ran with a Justice component. And those legendaries I just talked about, wow, Treachery, I think we're okay with backlashing this. I think I want to keep those guys around right now. Not necessarily interested in losing them already. Let's use the Diplomatic Seal. So yeah, those big time units or Surso are pretty decent units that you can pretty much put in every single deck, just like the Crownwatch Paladin for any Justice deck that needs some early game. So definitely recommended that you craft those the moment you can afford. Especially Sandstorm Titan should probably be your #1 craft at this point. Just because time decks are extremely strong and the mid-range component of those time decks, IG, Sandstorm Titan, World Bearer Behemoth, starting at 3 to 4 power going upwards is usually considered the mid-range. And this is where time shines. Wow, interesting to see that the 2-2 is still seeing play. Nice take for Skaldud here. Pretty easy for them to get some value going. I want to attack with the 5-5 and get our living example going. If we ever draw one guy with Echo, it should be worth it losing the tempo right now. Obviously, we could have just played Lumen Defender or Yeti Troublemaker, but as we said, one Echo card could make this worth losing the tempo right now. We have 3 mana flying right now, not doing anything. That's also decent. I think we follow this path further. And I think we would be okay with trading the 5-5. I mean, that could be a torch, but I think they would have done a torch already if they had one. So yeah, clearing the board, keeping it clean from stuff seems like a good idea right now. Memory Dredger, right? And we get a 4-4 bird as follow-up. Interesting. So right now we are okay. We're winning. We get a lot of value just by staying put for now. The sabotage hits nothing. There's nothing in our hand. We don't run many spells or any attachments. And I start to understand the strategy Skaldud is going for. They want to spew out some small minions and get more stuff going with Memory Dredger, getting those units back from the void. Definitely an interesting take. But as mentioned, I don't think we are under much pressure here right now. We can definitely just play the Jotun Hurler. I could see a Combust or something coming down, especially with units like Grenadins that are super expendable. So Combust is probably something we should see soon. Or Madness Devourer is also an interesting combo. Definitely. I don't mind taking that damage right now. I think I'm okay with plucking here, since we still have air superiority. I'm pretty sure they want to devour the 6-6 now. Oh, they want to combust it. That also works. Sure. We got another Twin Brute Sauropod. Another decent pickup there. Let's play it out. And actually get some more damage going. And bonk. Very interesting concept. Also looks on the more of a budget side. But definitely packs a punch. And Stone Scar is actually something I haven't done yet myself. Actually, good recall there, because I was pretty sure that we are through with all the budget factions at this point. But Stone Scar is missing. Right. So that's definitely a nice deck. And I'm pretty happy with how it performs. As you can tell, there were different versions like Budget Elysian Inspire Package. Let's have a quick look actually, just so you know that I'm not just talking bullcrap. I was trying different versions of a Budget Elysian deck with different takes and using cards like Changey Stick that are extremely, extremely strong. But sadly, I couldn't quite feel the same power as from the deck I was running just now. As you can see, the units were pretty much the same, but the order of appearance was different. Also, we had some big top end with Pillar of Amar. Definitely something you can try around or play with if you fancy some big units that get stronger or multiply themselves when they get Empower going. And we also had the Inspire package, but I'm not quite sure anymore what's in there. Let's have a quick look. Right, that was the list with the Baying Cersaur and Stormlinks and Journey Guide. So we had the complete Inspire package. I remember now, this deck is already a bit older. I was using Second Sight to get some more Echo units going. Definitely interesting different takes on basically the same concept. So if you feel like you want to take some inspiration. See what I did there with the pun. If you want some inspiration from those different deck lists, you shall be able to. And as mentioned earlier, the doubling effects or redrawing cards, putting them on your deck and getting another echo or a fade off is definitely worth it. And if you like doing that, you can probably mix and match those decks together. Yeah. Also on the different side from budgets, we have some pretty big deck lists coming up soon. Sadly, I will have to work in my old apartment this weekend, so I most likely won't get to release this just yet. But I have some nice new Tomorrow deck coming up for you guys very soon. And we also have some new temporal control in case you are on the opposite side of budget. Even though it's not the most heavyweight deck, actually. So yeah, just so you know, I'm still working and brewing in the back. This is a bit more conservative and a bit more streamlined, but there are a lot of decks I'm working on. I'm still working on my dinosaur brew this way around, and I will also get back into streaming the moment we are perfectly set up here. So stay tuned. I'm not sure why it's lagging right now or why it froze, but that shouldn't matter too much. We shall end on a high note, so thank you very much for staying around. And I catch you next time to either the Skycrack budget deck or to the Skonscar budget deck. And have a nice weekend, everyone.